There comes a moment in life, and it rarely announces its arrival. It creeps in quietly after sleepless nights, broken plans, and endless attempts to fix what perhaps cannot be fixed. You tried, didn't you? You worked yourself to the bone, meditated, journaled, visualized, prayed, made plans, and still, nothing changes. You look up at the sky and whisper, "Why isn't this working?" You feel powerless. But here's the bitter and at the same time liberating truth. You've been trying to force reality into submission with clenched fists, while the universe does not respond to tension, it responds to surrender, to letting go. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, it grows." And while you were trying so hard to hold on to your vision of the future, a different energy was echoing deep within you. "I don't have it. I'm not enough, I'm afraid." And the world doesn't hear your words, it hears your vibration. That's why your efforts bear no fruit, not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you're acting from survival mode, believing that control is the path to harmony. But the truth is something else. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if your self is a constant chase, a need to fix, save, or hold on, life will inevitably mirror that inner emptiness you're so desperately running from. Let me ask you this. What if the strongest move you can make right now is to stop? Stop clinging, stop pushing, stop proving your worth. Not out of fear, but out of trust. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because it's in stillness that becoming begins. It's in quiet that the unconscious awakens. And it's precisely when you stop interfering that the soul begins to heal, the shadow integrates, and reality starts to realign on its own. This is not the abandonment of effort. This is the beginning of the real path. Not to break, but to yield to something greater, something deeper than the mind, something that needs no explanation. Let go and see what happens. First, stop the chase. You run, and in doing so, you block yourself. We've been sold a beautiful but dangerous illusion that success lies in the pursuit, that happiness is the result of a relentless race, that if you just run faster, push harder, fight without stopping, everything you want will eventually be yours. But Jung didn't teach us to chase after dreams. He taught us to look within and ask ourselves, why do I really need this? Sometimes what we crave so desperately isn't the goal itself, but a bandage on an inner wound. When you are seized by the desire for love, is it truly love, or is it fear of being abandoned again? When you are obsessed with wealth, is it a pursuit of abundance, or an attempt to prove to those who once humiliated you that you are worthy? Jung's genius was not in motivation, but in the courage to face oneself. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. As long as your wounds remain in the shadows, they will quietly dictate your desires. You will chase goals, thinking they will make you whole. But life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you truly are. If deep inside you carry despair, a sense of lack, and inner discord, everything you touch will crumble or slip away. Because your energy itself tells the world, I am broken, I am missing something, I need this to feel worthy. But the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to your inner state. You whisper, give me love, but your state radiates, I am empty, and the universe simply confirms, that's true. This is why people burn out. They exhaust themselves chasing relationships that lack reciprocity, careers that drain their life force, approval that slips away as soon as it appears. The problem is not that the goals were wrong, but that the I behind those goals is depleted, wounded, and fragmented. It spends its last strength trying to fill the inner void with external achievements. Understand this. Obsession is almost never about the thing itself. It's about pain, about the belief that this very thing must be the cure, that it alone will save, prove, heal, and fulfill. But here is the uncomfortable truth. If you received right now what you so passionately desire, you wouldn't be able to hold on to it, because your hands still tremble, your soul still fears. You still carry the memory of an old wound whispering, "I am not worthy of this." Carl Jung did not seek to teach us to manifest desires from the ego. He sought to teach us to integrate the soul, to stop running forward and finally turn to face ourselves, to that quiet part inside that is already tired of screaming unanswered, "I am not seeking success, I am seeking wholeness." Here it is, your turning point. Before you ask the universe again, "Give me more," ask yourself, which part of me still feels lack? Which wound still leads me? Because as soon as you heal it, you will stop chasing what was only compensation and begin attracting what was originally meant just for you. It's not about giving up your dreams, it's about cleansing the source of those dreams, realizing, why do I really need this? It's about becoming someone who no longer needs, because inside is whole, and therefore worthy, unconditionally. And only then does the universe stop testing you, because now it can trust you. Second, the unconscious is always listening. Most people wake up thinking, "I am being tested. Every day is like an exam. Every obstacle is a test of strength." But the truth is much deeper and much more intimate. Life is not testing you. It is reflecting you. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are, not to your affirmations, not to social media posts about healing and high vibrations, but to that deep, unconscious identity beneath it all, to your inner beliefs that you may not even be fully aware of yet, which shape every decision you make, every choice, every word. Carl Jung saw this with ruthless clarity. He wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." In other words, stop searching for signs in the sky. Start reading the signs carved by time in your soul. Because here is the harsh reality. If fear, doubt, pain, and a deep sense of unworthiness live in your unconscious, then you can cover your walls in affirmations written in golden ink. You can keep repeating, "I am worthy, I am whole, I am loved." It won't work. Because deep inside, you don't believe it. And the unconscious knows it. You cannot fool the unconscious. It hears every doubt you have. It remembers everything you try to forget, and it governs every choice you make even when it seems you are in control. That tightness in your chest when you imagine your future, that wave of anxiety rising when you think about how everything is supposed to come together, that's not intuition. That is your inner voice. Your unconscious saying, "You don't really believe this yourself, do you?" And here is what life does. It reflects that. It withholds blessings not out of cruelty, but because your energy says, "I am not ready to receive." So what do? You stop. You stop begging. You stop obsessing. You stop trying to cover up the inner chaos with another dose of positivity and self-motivation. Because true power is not in effort, but in presence. In the ability to slow down enough to hear the whisper of your own soul. When you feel doubt, don't run away from it. When fear arises, don't hide it behind audiobooks and mantras. Sit beside it, listen, decode it. Every fear is a message. Every inattention is a signal. Your unconscious is always speaking to you. The only question is, do you have the courage to listen? And here is the paradox. The moment you stop interfering, stop pushing, stop imposing human impatience on divine timing, everything begins to move, energy balances out, and the unconscious stops resisting. And then the universe seems to whisper, "Now, you are ready." You are not here to chase alignment, you are here to become alignment. Stopping always begins in silence. Third detachment is not surrender, it is awakening. Let go not as an act of defeat, not because you gave up on the outcome, but because you have finally awakened to the truth. I was never here to control the world. I am here to understand myself in this world. Detachment is not apathy, not indifference, and definitely not a mask of "I don't care." It is the reclaiming of energy from places where it was never meant to be. It is a quiet, deep certainty that whispers, "I have done all I could, now I let go, because what happens next is beyond my power." Carl Jung knew this. True transformation does not happen in frantic obsession, it comes through surrender. Not passive, but internally aligned, harmonious, conscious. You cannot fake detachment. You cannot scroll through Instagram repeating to yourself, "I don't care." If secretly you check your phone every 5 minutes looking for their name, their message, any sign the unconscious does not respond to words, it responds to vibration. And if your vibration still says, "I need this to feel whole," life will continue to show you everything you still lack. Detachment is not the absence of desire, it is the absence of dependency. It is an inner knowing that says, "Even if this never happens, I am whole, I am worthy." And here is the real paradox. It is precisely at the moment when your energy aligns with this truth that everything begins to flow. Not because you forced it to happen, but because you stopped resisting. Life bends for those who are already whole, not for those who pray to be made whole. Life bends before those who are already complete, not before those who beg it to complete them. What if you are in pain right now? If you are stuck in an invisible web of expectations, obsession, illusions, hope that looks more like dependence, stop. Not to distract yourself, but to awaken. Ask yourself quietly, but honestly, what part of me still believes that one single thing will heal everything? The part that thirsts for love? The part that waits for recognition? The part that silently hopes success will finally give meaning? That part doesn't need fixing, it needs to be seen, to be acknowledged. Not by strangers, not by society, not by your parents, but by you. Because it is precisely the moment you allow yourself to see yourself, without blaming, without shame, but with respect for your pain and your story, that you stop seeking reflection outside and begin to be your own mirror. And then true alignment begins without chasing, without pleading, without proving, only presence, wholeness, and you, fully, uncompromisingly, powerfully. Fourth, allow the emptiness to be. True transformation does not come in a moment of ecstasy. It begins after release, after letting go, after the struggle, obsession, clinging, prayers, and cries to the universe, "I am ready." And then it comes, there is nothing, no miracle, no sign, no relief, no sudden grace, just silence. You wake up, and the world is the same. The phone is silent, the heart still aches, opportunity does not knock, the answer has not come. And the voice inside begins to whisper, was it even worth it? It is here, in this frightening silence, that many break, because we have been taught to believe that immediately after the act of letting go, a reward will come, that if you release, the universe must compensate. But the universe does not play by the rules of the impatient ego. It responds not to haste, but to depth. Before giving you what you desire so much, it asks, who have you become without it? And here you are in the emptiness, in the space between no longer and not yet. A place that seems like nothing but holds everything. This is the in-between zone, a place where your old self has already dissolved, but the new one is not yet formed. A place where there is no map, no guarantees, no audience, only you, your thoughts, your silence, and one single question: are you ready to believe without proof? Carl Jung called this state the creative void. He wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a hidden order." And this means that what appears empty on the outside is actually the deepest inner restructuring. Your soul is not on pause, it is in a phase of construction. Old wounds are being torn open and healed. New beliefs are taking root. Your nervous system is learning to receive what you once begged for. And most importantly, it is learning to hold it with dignity, without fear of loss, without dependency. But here's the trap. Because you don't see that something is happening, that everything is forming behind the scenes, your ego whispers, "This isn't working." And if you believe this lie, if you accept this shadow as truth, you will once again open the door to self-sabotage. You will rush back into the chase, start fixing, forcing, controlling again, and in doing so, you will block what was quietly, gently, and without unnecessary noise being created for you from within. Understand this. Emptiness is not punishment. It is purification. It is not a pause. It is a transition, an inner reset. It slowly, but relentlessly, takes away everything you have relied on for years. External approval, the illusion of control, dependence on the outcome, and leaves you alone with your own truth, with your energy, unembellished, unexplained, just as it truly is. And so, when you reach that point where you no longer chase, where you stop, where you don't strive to impress but choose to be yourself, where you don't prove but accept the universe listens, because energy never lies. You can hang up vision boards, write manifestos, chant mantras from morning till night, but if your vibration keeps saying, "I'm afraid it won't happen," life will listen not to your words, but to your truth. Emptiness is the moment of manifestation, not after the result, but before it. It is the place where you are asked, feel as if it already is. Can you experience abundance before the money hits your account? Can you feel love before the partner appears? Can you feel freedom before your external circumstances change? Because if you can, you compress time. You turn waiting into becoming, and silence into magnetism. You become the vibration of your desire, and life has no choice but to meet you where you already are. But first, life takes you through a test. Silence, the unknown, the frightening in-between time, where it seems like you are doing nothing but in truth, you are becoming everything. Fifth, integrate. Don't obsess. Every desire you have is not a coincidence, not a mistake, and not a mockery from fate. It is a mirror, a message, a spiritual task. Carl Jung knew this. He taught, desire is the call of the unconscious, not outward, but inward. You don't want money just for the numbers. You want to feel safe. You don't want relationships for the sake of status as a couple. You want to be seen, known, accepted. You don't want success for applause. You want to finally believe that you are good enough. The problem isn't the desire, the problem is the attachment to the desired outcome, making your worth dependent on obtaining it. That's why many get stuck. They confuse longing with direction. They confuse obsession with action. They check their phone 20 times a day. They go back to old conversations. They analyze every pause, every delay, every silence, every fleeting shift in energy, and call it manifestation. But this is not manifestation. It's destruction, because you do not manifest when you vibrate from need. You only confirm with your energy, I don't have it, I am not whole, I need it to become myself. But Carl Jung's work, especially his concept of individuation, teaches us otherwise. The goal is not to become perfect, the goal is to become whole. Perfection is a mask, an attempt to fit in, to be enough in someone else's eyes. Wholeness is vulnerability before yourself, a union with every part of you not perfect, but real. And wholeness is not born from obsessing over what you lack, it comes when you integrate everything you once rejected. Your light, your shadow, your strength and your weakness, your virtues and your fears, your courage and your vulnerability, even the parts you were afraid to face. Because it is exactly when you can hold within yourself both strength and pain, desire and fear, that you stop waiting for the world to complete you, you begin to be whole on your own. Remember, you don't attract what you obsess over, you attract what you have made peace with. So the next time you feel yourself chasing something outside again, stop. Not out of fatigue, but from inner mastery. Take a breath, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what part of me still believes that this thing will make me whole? And when you honestly look to the root, you will discover a simple truth. You are already whole, you are not broken, you lack nothing. And that is when obsession dissolves, replaced by calm, clarity, magnetism, a silence filled with power. You no longer demand proof of your worth from the world. And here is the paradox. That is exactly when the world begins to respond to you differently, because now your energy says, I am already this, I am already there. This is the essence of the difference between manifesting from fear and attracting from alignment. So yes, you can keep anxiously searching for signs, reading messages in silence, worrying, analyzing, or you can take a truly revolutionary step, sit down, be silent, do nothing, and allow life to catch up with the version of you have already become. Because when the inner work is done, the race is no longer needed, the pleas fall away, faith becomes presence, and you simply are. Sixth, the ego wants control, the soul wants peace. Let's be honest. That part of you that checks your phone, refreshes your messages, rereads conversations, looks at the clock with a racing heart and whispers, why hasn't this happened yet? That is not your wisdom, that is your ego. It does not speak from strength, it screams from fear. It hates the unknown, it fears the void. It demands the illusion of control because in it feels safe. And when control slips away, the ego panics, it dramatizes, catastrophizes, floods you with anxiety, and passes it off as intuition. But be careful, this is not intuition. It is unresolved fear disguised as urgency. Carl Jung knew this. He not only studied the inner struggle, he lived it and taught, the human soul is a constant tension between ego and self, between false control and profound authenticity. The ego demands proof, the soul whispers truth. The ego says, I must control this, or I'll get burned again, while the soul says, I've already survived, I already know, let's move on. The ego seeks confirmation. The soul reminds you, you are already whole. This is what most people never learn. The ego seeks results, the soul seeks alignment. The ego demands to know how, when, through whom. It insists on control, as if salvation depends on it. The soul only needs to feel that everything is already unfolding, because the soul lives beyond linear time. It doesn't chase, it remembers. Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And here is the real turning point. Who you truly are is not the version living in panic, clinging to every external guarantee, trying to control through fear. The true version of you is the one that already feels whole. It's not afraid of silence. It doesn't measure its worth by likes, messages, tasks completed, zeros in the bank account, or others' approval. It breathes deeper, speaks softer, moves with grace rather than desperation, because it knows everything meant for me will come, and it will come in divine timing, not mine. But to connect with this version of yourself, to truly enter alignment, you must learn to stop precisely at the moments when you want to rush, save, prove. Stop the cycle, break the pattern, and ask yourself one simple but transformative question. Is this my ego speaking right now, or my essence? If inside there's anxiety, tension, pressure, and a sense of lack, that's the ego. If inside there's silence, trust, surrender, and calm, that's the soul. This doesn't mean you should stop dreaming. It means stop clinging, stop suffocating your desires with anxiety, because desperation screams, and alignment whispers. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it simply becomes. So if you are in a moment of doubt right now, don't add more noise, don't escape into distraction, don't blame yourself for everything. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and ask, what would my healed self do right now? Then do it not because it will bring instant results, but because it anchors your truth. Remember, you are not here to control everything. You are here to create. And creation does not happen from panic. It requires peace, even when it's uncomfortable, even when there are no visible confirmations, even when the ego screams, "This still isn't working." Because it is precisely when you choose peace over pressure, silence over panic, acceptance over control, that reality begins to change. You are no longer a passenger, you are the architect, and your compass is peace. Follow it, and everything meant for you will come in due course. Seventh, don't become a barrier to your own destiny. This may be the bitterest truth, but everything standing between you and the life you dream of is you. Not your past, not your trauma, not the universe, but you. Carl Jung, the father of depth psychology, a man capable of seeing into the very core of the human soul, once said a painfully accurate phrase: "The most terrifying thing is to fully accept yourself." Why terrifying? Because true self-acceptance requires facing what you have been running from all your life: guilt, shame, regret, the anxiety that you are actually not enough. And this is why most people don't go inward. Instead, they run outward, in pursuit. They seek someone to validate their worth, work themselves to exhaustion for love, manifest not from faith, but from fear, from a desperate attempt to run away from themselves. But here is the harsh truth: everything you chase to avoid meeting yourself will ultimately avoid you. You think you simply want to manifest your dream, but in reality, you use the dream to not hear the silence where you will have to be alone with your own truth. And the universe does not punish, it protects, because it knows that if it gave you what you're asking for right now, you wouldn't be able to hold on to it, because somewhere deep inside you still don't believe you deserve it. This is what Jung pointed to. If you don't fully accept yourself, you become fragmented. Your consciousness says, "I want more," but your unconscious whispers, "I'm not ready, I don't deserve it." And then your energy splits. You create a magnetic field that repels rather than attracts. This is not a curse, it is a conflict between intention and state, between what you want and who you feel yourself to be. You become your own barrier, not out of weakness, but because you are still operating from an old version of yourself, the one created in pain, in survival mode, the one that learned, to be worthy of love, you have to earn it. And here lies the real tragedy. People spend their lives chasing results instead of changing their identity. But the truth is, you don't need to do more, you need to become the person who no longer needs to chase. The version of yourself that already feels what it is trying to attract, the version that knows, "I am worthy, I am ready, I already am." Because the law of the universe is simple. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. If deep inside you still feel unworthy, even if you say the right affirmations, do visualizations, repeat mantras, you will still sabotage everything that comes. Why? Because your energy doesn't match your intention. So if right now everything seems stuck, if life feels paused, it's not because the universe is deaf, it's because inside you there is a voice that still doesn't believe it's possible. And the universe simply reflects that purity again and again, not to punish, but to awaken. Stop blaming the world, stop calling it bad luck, stop asking, "Why does nothing work out for me?" Start asking, "What part of me still believes I have to suffer before I deserve it?" Because it is exactly the moment you stop chasing results and start evolving your self-perception that everything begins to change. Not magically, not suddenly, but naturally, from the inside out, just as true transformation happens. Thank you for watching.